Hey everyone, John Raitt back with another episode of Design and Invest. In this episode, this will be an installment of Flashback Friday! And we will be discussing one of my favorite renovations and properties that I did back, I think it was just over 4 years ago. This is a 5-bedroom, 3-bath house in Fayette Square, which is near Mid-City off of Crenshaw, and sometimes referred to as the Black Beverly Hills. Very prominent African-American people lived in this neighborhood, and a big part of this video actually today as well. I did all the staging, the design work, project management, the whole shebang from A to Z on this property. It is a protected HPOZ property, which is like a preservation to keep the, because it's a very historic neighborhood and district. This particular property is a Dutch Colonial revival, which is beautiful gable roof lines and just very colonial in nature as well, traditional style home, and I had a blast with it. It was built in the 1920s by famous architects Montgomery and Nybecker, and actually it's funny because they refer to it as Black Beverly Hills, but back when it was built, African Americans were not allowed to live in these neighborhoods or were not allowed to buy homes, and I mean it was just ridiculous back then. But it soon became a grounds for famous civil rights people and lawyers and just really well-to-do African Americans. And all right, so let's jump right in, show you some pictures of the property as well as some befores and afters, things like that. The history and ownership of this property are probably what makes it most fascinating. I mean, the architect's famous. It's a Dutch Colonial. I've never done one of those before, so all of those features are worthy of this. Plus, it's a $2+ million house in a somewhat gated community, very prestigious in Los Angeles. But more so than anything, this is the ownership and who had frequented the property. Leo Branton Jr. was the former owner of this property. He died in 2013. His wife, Geraldine, was she passed away in 2006, I believe. And but they were a lovely couple. Leo Branton Jr. was a famous civil rights lawyer, an entertainment lawyer. I mean, the list of people that he represented is ridiculous, and these are just what I could pull off online. He represented tons of NAACP members. He was an NAACP member and award winner. He started the first black-owned law practice in 1948 in Los Angeles. Tons of pro bono work, really gave back to the community. He represented the Black Panthers, Nat King Cole, Richard Pryor, Rosa Parks, Miles Davis, Jimi Hendrix in his estate, many others, and Angela Davis, a huge case, communist case back in the 70s where he represented, I think, 12 different people. It was really huge. He dined and had guests entertained at his property a lot. People like JFK, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, all the famous civil rights lawyers, not lawyers, but well, them too, but all the famous civil rights activists and people involved in that era. I mean, if these walls could talk, holy crap. I mean, it's just amazing to know, like, that he had that kind of influence and that kind of power, and and made that big of a difference. I mean, he really did. This is one of the civil rights activists of his time and lawyers. He represented people way before African Americans were even able to serve on juries. I mean, he helped, fight for them to serve on juries. I mean, otherwise it's just all white jurors. How do you think they're going to vote? And I mean, it's crazy. He was also a huge interior design, architecture fan. He was really big into arts, and it showed too. A lot of his items were left in his house. When the property was purchased. Light fixtures, beautiful deco light fixtures that I know weren't there originally. It doesn't go with the house, but I can tell that was his style, and it's my style too. So I took those from the property. The developer didn't want to keep those, so I gladly took them. A really cool fact about this house is that Rosa Parks would spend the winters at this property. She and Geraldine were besties, so they would spend the whole winters in Los Angeles. Here, she would escape the harsh cold of Detroit and spend time with her bestie in Los Angeles. And so, out of her bedroom, Rosa Parks' bedroom, I was able to salvage a couple mirrors. One of them has got to be like 150 years old. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful old mirror, and I'm gonna put that. Somewhere in my house. It's in storage right now, but I'm gonna put it somewhere in my house very soon. So on the design side with the property, I try to keep it as traditional as possible. I don't really specialize in traditional design, but obviously I can do it. I think it's I did stay true to the house itself and the style. I did Carrera countertops, white shaker cabinets. We restored all of the double hung windows that were in the property. And actually HPOZ made us do that, so but I mean, I would have anyways. They were beautiful. They just needed new weights, they needed new ropes and hardwood floors. We salvaged as much as humanly possible, and feathered in new stuff to match. I did something really cool. They had this really beautiful window in the center second story of the house, and I positioned it. I restructured the bathroom, and it was like in a toilet room or something, I believe, originally. And I restructured it so it sat directly over the tub that I put, the soaker tub. I'll show a photo. It came out just beautiful. I mean, the house didn't really take that much reconfiguring. It was a couple areas. There was an illegal sort of deck that was off of one of the bedrooms that just wasn't safe, so we just closed that off, and the roof line that it went out to, we just restored that. Just a whole lot of rehab on this property and bringing it to date. I mean, it really was a beautiful property. Had good bones. It was well taken care of, even though the photos may not show that. But for the most part, it wasn't terrible. And it was a pleasure working on this property. It really was, and I'm glad to share this with people. And I hope to do many more like this. I mean, because really restoring homes like this is really a passion. Please, if you like this video, if you like me, subscribe, add us, follow us, all the social media platforms, Design and Invest. Remember, design, invest, and repeat.